Hey, I'm Duke on Twitch. If you want to support the channel and greensunzenith.com, you can find my Patreon, merch store, and singles store where you can buy singles through TCG Player or Card Hoarder in the video description. If you want to get in contact, you can also find all that info in the description below for things like donation deck lists or just wanting to reach out. Alright, let's get right into it. Hey, welcome back to Dukes on Twitch. We're playing a donation deck list today. This is Naya Reclaimer from Bernhard, so a huge thank you to you for sending this through and seeing how it goes on the channel. This is a deck that was popularized a few years back and did have some pretty good results. It's a little bit like a Maverick deck in that it uses a Green Suns engine. It is a creature-based deck and it also has kind of a lands package to it as well, which is really nice. The core shell of the deck is using Dryad of the Elysian Grove, which allows all your lands you control to be every basic land type in addition to the other types, which means with Molten the Pinnacle, we have a lot of mountains to come down, which is really cool. So really looking to do something like a turn 1 Reclaimer, turn 2 Flagstones, hold up Reclaimer, and then ramp through Flagstones, and then start getting the Dryad online, hopefully with a Valakut, or even getting towards just a turbo field against some of the control decks, which is a big reason why we're running things like the snow-covered plains and the normal plains, the forest and the snow-covered forest. And then we also have a really nice sort of Green Suns package of Collector Ooze for the artifact decks, Scavenging Ooze for the graveyard decks, alongside Endurance, which is also fantastic against Delver and some of the combo decks. One Knight as a target, which you don't often see. Usually with Green Suns in a Knight deck you see the full 4, but in this deck you're not really looking to trade lands 1 for 1, you're looking to ramp. But with Knight still being a really good way to tutor for lands, it's definitely worth having one on the deck. And the power of Green Suns here is that although there's only one Knight, we do have 5 virtual copies thanks to Green Suns. Knight of Autumn, back to basics or Ensnaring Bridge in the main deck would be pretty tough. Just little pesky cards like that you want to get rid of, Knight's really good for. Ramanap turns on the graveyard as a way to get back lands. Primetime's just a really nice finisher as well, especially with Field of the Dead. And then, the 3 Endurances, 3 Dryads, and 4 Reclaimers. For removal, we have 4 Swords and 3 Endings. Ending just really nice because it is flexible. It can hit anything from creatures to artifacts to enchantments, from 0 CMC up to nearly 4 CMC in this list, which is pretty sweet. I guess Dryad, I believe, allows us to tap lands for any color, so that does mean we could Ending for 5 if we want to hit a Batterskull or something. And then just Thalia. We don't want to be too fair. We want to have some game against some of the blue and combo decks, so Thalia is nice as just an aggressive creature that also taxes our opponent. Speaking of combo, we have Deafening Silence on the sideboard alongside a Gaddock Teeg and 3 Blast effects, which is really nice. Blast just, nice and versatile. Can be great against Delver, can be great against combo, and even the control decks playing, Teferi or Jace, it's quite nice to trade for them with just 1 mana, so that's pretty strong. Clothis is a really nice one. A lot of players have been sort of turned away from Clothis due to the printing of cards like Prismatic Ending, but I think as well this deck just has so many targets for Ending that if they have the Ending for it, that's fine, but if they're going to spend an Ending on Reclaimer and then maybe have a Swords to Plowshares left when we drop Clothis, it's going to be hard for them to deal with it, so that's pretty sweet. The only change I made to this deck list was adding in the Blast Zone as a way to, kind of have a plan against decks that go wide, like Elves. Tabernacle's nice, but a timely Assassin's Trophy can get there, so I wanted to have sort of a backup plan, and I think Blast Zone's a pretty good one, especially for 1. We only really have the Reclaimers that are going to be hit by that, so pretty happy for Blast Zone. Tabernacle great against, it's okay against Elves, they do have Cradle to kind of mitigate it, but against the 8-cast decks as well, I like Tabernacle, the Madness decks, which we've been seeing on channel a fair bit, even though it's not too big of a meta part, but I do like Tabernacle on the side. Teeg, I do have some content coming out this week with why is Gaddock Teeg still in Legacy in 2022, and should he be retired? So I'll leave my analysis for that. 3 Force of Vigor, really nice. Hitting things like Blood Moon. Any fast starts from 8 cast can be pretty tough. Against lands, being hit something like Mox Diamond and Urza Saga or Exploration is pretty sweet. So, and then Carpet. Carpet's just a nice one for Delver and a few other blue decks. Because we are playing Dryad, all our lands are islands. so we can't play chokes. We could play chokes, but it doesn't end well. So that's the reasoning why we're playing carpets over chokes. Carpet's also just nice in this deck, especially when we're trying to ramp up to prime time or get an endurance down ASAP around a daze. So pretty happy with that. Reclaimer is probably the most underrated card in this deck, just because of how it can ramp through flagstones. It can find things like Bojuka Bug and Karakas. Karakas, usually you want coming in untapped through something like Knight, but you know, finding a bog at instant speed is really strong, or even a Vesuva to copy the effect of a bog or a field is pretty sweet as well. So yeah, really looking forward to seeing how this deck goes. I do have a little bit of experience with it, so that should be pretty fun. But yeah, we'll see you in round one. If you have any questions, definitely leave them in the comments below, and we'll chat then. Hey, we're here for round one against Duncan. And we have an okay hand. We don't have a white source, but we do have ramp, which is quite nice, into Dryad Arbor, and then potentially into Elvish Reclaimer. We also have a pretty high chance of drawing into a white source, so I'm actually pretty happy to keep this. I would despise an opponent who knows what I'm usually on and does something like a Bile Therapy for Green Suns. That would be pretty rough, but opponent's gone to 6 cards here. Steam Vents. Okay, it's going to be Blue-Red Delver. Okay. I think in this case I'm happy to lead on the Yavimaya into Green Suns. I don't want to expose a white source just yet, and I don't really want to swords this Dragon Rage Channeler until we can play around Daze, just because I really value our removal in this matchup. Second sword. Yeah, I think I'd rather lose the Yav here to a Wasteland, than I'm happy just to try to get some ramp going. This also means they have to have a removal spell for the Dryad Arbor, or something like instant and sorcery in the graveyard this turn to attack with the Dragon Rage Channeler. This isn't too bad as well. It means that a Reclaimer off the top is going to be quite big as well. And getting a Reclaimer down as a 3/4 is quite nice. Next turn, I might just be playing the field tapped if we don't have a better land to play. Wasteland's definitely interesting. Wasteland isn't doing a whole lot for us. And I think I'm in a position where I'm happy to try to take my opponent off Murktide, but to be fair, next turn if they untap, have a fetch land of Murktide, it's only a 4/4. They are 1 sorcery away as well from being able to make this a 3. I actually am going to go for Wasteland here. There is a world where my opponent doesn't have an extra land in hand with only 3 cards there. So being able to buy some time that way is quite nice. Okay. Well, at least it's not a red source. That's quite nice for us. No sorcery either, so that is going to pass here. Nice. So again, what card do I want not to get wastelanded? The field is probably just irrelevant in this matchup. I don't think we're going to get to the stage where that's on pass. So the role of field in this matchup is just to have 1 colorless mana for days. So I think getting that online is quite nice. And again, even if this got wastelanded, wouldn't be too upset. Alright, 2 cards left for my opponent. Okay. I probably want a Swords 1 here. I might wait till end step to see if they do anything in my end step. Okay. Wasteland's okay. A little bit tough being a white source, but I'm pretty happy now to most likely go for Green Suns for Reclaimer. No Murktide is quite nice. Or just Reclaimer. I think I like that playing around Days. It's also a great answer to block the Murktide. Or the Dragon Rage. They're going to force it. Wow, pitching Murktide. That's pretty huge. They put a force in the bin. That makes sense. This is really nice. I don't think we need to swords here. I'm probably pretty happy to Green Suns for another Reclaimer. Playing a land first. Let's just have a quick look at the deck list. Yeah, I think going for Reclaimer is fine. I could go for Scavenging Ooze, but I think because we have the swords for Murktide, I'm happy just to kind of play around that a little bit. Could have also held up the Taiga there to like kind of bluff more cards, but I think we're in a pretty good spot, especially on turn 6 to be at 15 life is quite nice. No attacks is pretty huge as well. Well, there's Ooze. That's definitely interesting as well. I kind of just want to slam the Knight, so I will see if we can fetch here. No Stifle is nice. I will just go for Plains. And play the Knight. Two mana. Days. Okay, they must have double Days in hand. Unless they just wanted to try to get this DRC up. Wow, they are. In that case, I'm probably happy to attack with the Reclaimer. Knight is a formidable blocker on the ground, so I think this is pretty much a free attack. But yeah, I mean, the hand was an interesting one. You don't know white mana, but luckily it did something. Here's going to be Murktide, but we have the swords for it, which is fantastic. Probably pretty happy just to swords in my turn, because I don't want them drawing, like, maybe Force Negation is a card that could have main deck. Okay. Swords this. Yeah. Tough. Really tough for them. Alright. The one nice thing about having a Green Sun Zenith package is that there's easy cards to cut. So Collector Oof in this matchup does nothing. I'm going to say that Sylvan Library is just a little bit too slow. The deck can be really aggressive with 1-drops, that it's just not a great spot to have Sylvan Library against Delver. I don't mind it with more removal coming in, but it can be very tough. I like the carpets, I like the Blast Zone as well. It just means that like Knight and Reclaimer are essentially removal spells, which is quite nice. I think like Field is just a little bit too slow, and Blast Zone is quite nice. I think that's going to be it. There is a world where Clothis is better than Knight of Autumn. I actually don't mind that. I could also see it like a Dryad coming out. Being a 2/4 is a good body. The endurances are obviously really strong as well. Prime Time could just be that spot where, like, when are we actually going to get to that sort of mana? So I could see the Prime Time coming out. It's also a card I don't want in my opening hand. I think this is really nice. A lot of 1-drops. A land shooter that I think has a bit more impact than Field of the Dead in this matchup. This seems pretty nice. Which, you know, big kudos to my donation decker for putting together this list. Now, this is always an interesting part. We have a carpet, which is great, but we also have double wasteland. So I guess it means that if the carpet resolves, we don't really care about the wastelands, but If the card bait gets countered, then we can start wastelanding our opponent. I think this hand is a keep. Even though it just has the one Savannah, I'm pretty happy to keep this. Double removal spell and Reclaimer is really nice. Okay. Opponent mulligan to 6. Foothills is quite nice. I'm still happy to keep this, probably Plateau, because it casts both Sword Splashes and Blast effects. I'm going to start with Savannah into Carpet. I don't want to play the Reclaimer until it's a 3-4. I think that's like the patient game that I want to play against this matchup. They're going to force that. That makes a lot of sense. It is a very hard card to deal with once it's on the field, so... You know, my opponent might have Brazen Borrower to bounce it, but otherwise it's usually a pretty tough one. No flip. No Wasteland. That's huge as well. No second creature. Wow. I'm going to play a land, and I'm just going to Prismatic Ending this right now. Yeah. The question is, do I want to play the Reclaimer? I don't really. I think I'm happy to hold up the Foothills. I really just want to turn off Lightning Bolt. Sure. Okay. Thalia is really nice here. We get to play Wasteland. We get to fetch, most likely for Plateau here. And then I'm actually going to... I think the Wasteland for us is a little bit better right now. Then I'm going to hold up the swords. Am I? Let's have a quick think. They have one card in hand. I'm going to start with Thalia. And then there is a world where I just want to get this Reclaimer on the field, just to 2-spell this turn. And then next turn, if they don't deal with the Reclaimer here, next turn it becomes a 3-4, which is quite nice. And I think in their spot, they might have to go after the Thalia with Bolt, not the Reclaimer, if they have a removal spell. But yeah, I think I've just kind of transitioned back into like, I want a 2-spell a turn. If this dies because it's not a 3-4, that's fine, because then the Thalia is most likely surviving. I'd love to see like a 2-mana Ponder. Okay. This is fine. There goes a Brazen Borrower, which will turn this into a 3. See what the Ponder does. Chose to not shuffle. Okay. Okay. That's very interesting. They have one card in hand. We also have Bojuka Bog online now. So I could see like Waste Bog as a play here. I don't mind that. I wonder if we attack with the Thalia if they block. I assume not. Yeah, I think I like Waste Bog. Waste Bog. Might as well attack here to see if they block. They don't. That is fine. And then I'm going to leave the Savannah. I'm also bogging now to play around like Stifle or just a land Murktide hand that they have. Now we're both at 15, but I have 5 power in play and they have 2 power in play. Delver's going to be okay, especially seeing that we have this Blast Zone in play, which is nice. Another Thalia. Now we get to play the Dryad as well here, which is really strong. Can't be countered, which is nice. Yeah, that's a really tough spot for them. But nice to show that the deck has some game against what I would call the best deck in the format. You know, I think Doomsday is definitely up there, but I think Blue Red Delver is still a very strong deck. So yeah, always nice to start off with a win. And yeah, I mean, we also kept some hands that didn't really look that great from a mana perspective, but sometimes you just got to keep a hand and hope that the top couple of cards are going to have that mana that you want, being a white source for us. So pretty happy. Yeah, good start. We'll see you in round 2. Cheers. Hey, we're back on the play for round 2 with a 1-lander, which is pretty tough. It's not a green source. We don't have a green suns to ramp, so gonna mulligan this. This is probably okay. The mana again is pretty rough, but I think here I want to drop the Dryad and keep the Ramanap, especially with Wasteland. I think that could be a way to get around this. So I'm going to keep this and bottom the Dryad. There's a world where there's a better 5, potentially with like a Green Suns or Silver Library. But we can hope. I'm going to lead on Plains. Gives away the least amount from this deck. Priz. Okay. Most likely a blue-white control deck. Okay. With Preordain, you don't often see Preordain. That could be a combo deck, or it could be like a mentor deck that's looking to be pretty low to the ground. Really want to find a green source here. We don't, which is fine. I think we play Wasteland Pass. But then my opponent might be inclined to either fetch up a basic again or go for playing a basic instead of a duel. I don't really want to show the plateau though, so... I think if I can play this game like a blue-white deck, I'd be very happy. So I'm going to put this plateau over here. Would be nice if it was Doomsday, and they just thought we were on like a green, like a Death and Taxes deck, and didn't even think about Endurance. Savannah. Well, I'm still pretty happy to try to get the Knight down here. Knight now, because next turn Ramanap could potentially be okay. Okay, it is going to be a blue-white deck. City. Oh, is this blue-white show and tell? Yikes. I guess we show Ramanap because that's the card that I least care about. Alright, well they're digging. 2 cards on top. Well, there we go. I'll see what they actually find. I assume it's Emrakul. Cunning Wish. Well, we can see how they wish. I assume for Shed Summons is probably just the cleanest way to win here. Firemind's Foresight. Okay. They're going to go the long route. Eldumbri's Call. Emrakul's go back. Nice. Tough. This is a pretty easy one to sideboard against. Endings, Swords, Bog. Pyro, Blast, Deaf Silence. We do have Teeg for Shared Summons and Firemind's Foresight, which is just better than anything else, and I don't mind Force of Vigors. I also don't mind Carpets. Force just nice because you can do things like, you can put Endurance in off Show and Tell, and then the ETB goes on the stack, which allows you to then respond to Force of Vigoring Omniscience, so they can't cast Emrakul at sorcery speed. So a very small thing, but I'm going to assume this is also a non-Lotus Petal version, but it is definitely interesting. Scooze is coming out. Ramanap's coming out. Krakus is good. Field is probably a little bit too late. I like the libraries. I think it might be prime time. Yeah. Prime time and Field just a little bit too late game for us. Sadly, just a hand that's a little bit too fair. We do have a lot of cards that we brought in as well. I don't mind this hand. It's a turn 2 Thalia, turn 1 Acceleration. But that's about it. I kind of want to have like a Deafening Silence or Blast hand. I don't think this is good enough. But it's interesting. I mean, we have the Karakas for the creature. And then the Force for the Omniscience. Unfortunately, we don't have a red source if we draw into a blast effect, which is pretty tough. We both mulligan to 6. I think this is okay. The tough part is do I want to Green Suns early or not? I think I want to keep this in bottom of the Vesuva. Yeah. We don't really need to accelerate here either, so I'm not going to Green Sun straight away. I'm just going to go Land Pass, and then turn 2 Thalia. And then we can still Green Suns down the line for like a Reclaimer, which then turns on red mana and works well with Flagstones, so not too bad. Ponder is fine. I don't want to show the Krakus yet either, so it's going to be Flagstones into Thalia most likely. They chose to not shuffle. That's pretty huge. They most likely brought in Swords to Plowshares out of the board. Preordain, okay. Carpet. One bottom, one top. So let's have a quick look at this hand. If my opponent has Show and Tell of Cydia Traders into Omniscience Emrakul, then that's obviously pretty good. But we can beat that by doing nothing this turn. I guess we can use 2 mana, which doesn't really accomplish anything other than use the carpet. But the carpet, I probably want to pitch to the Force here. If they go City, Show and Tell, Omniscience, we can put in Endurance, and then with the ETB on the stack, because they're tapped out, we can Force of Vigor the Omniscience, and that way they can't put in a creature or Cunning Wish in response. But if they do nothing, then I've kind of time walked myself, so I think I do have to play Karakas. And then I think just going for Green Suns for a Reclaimer here is fine, and just hoping they don't have those 3 cards. Soul Land, Show and Tell, I guess 4 cards, Omniscience and Emrakul. Okay. Sure. This is fine, I guess. Yeah, Reclaimer here is fine, then hold up Reclaimer. I could play Carpet, but then I don't have a pitch card for Force in response to Reclaimer, in response to Endurance, sorry, I think. So I think we have to hold back this. So Show and Tell card, and then Force on the Omniscience. Okay. They go for the fetch. And this is fine. Endurance. Nice. Now trigger on the stack. We can respond by forcing this. They have Force back. Surely they don't have the Emrakul. Oh, they have the Wish. Tough. I think we played this out pretty well. Yeah. Tough. That's definitely going to be the kind of game against combo, but you have to take the losses with the wins. So hopefully we can bounce back in the next one, and we'll see you in round 3. Thanks. Hey, welcome back to Juice on Twitch. Up against Salva on the play, which is nice. But the hand isn't. No green source is huge here, and is probably the mana source that I will actually mulligan this hand for. Well, I don't really want to go to 5, and we do have some pretty good plays if we do draw a green source. So I'm going to keep this and bottom the Knight. Leading on the Plateau because it is like a turn 1 play against Swords to Plowshares, against like a creature deck. Kind of hope to see Volk here. Drop. Interesting. I really just want to negate the 1 mana here. Wasteland does play a role against Inkmoth Nexus, but I think trying to keep him off Blighted Agent for as long as possible is pretty key here. Sylvan Library really nice against Infect, of course, unless they go for some sort of Noble Hierarch route, but I think we're pretty good. That's not too bad either. Seeing that if we draw a green source, we can still cast Library under Thalia. But I could see a Daze here, which isn't bad as well. I mean, it keeps them off a Blooded Agent for one more turn. Oh, okay. Wasteland our Wasteland or Wasteland our Plateau? That's always an interesting one. They go Wasteland, Wasteland, okay. Well, we will also Wasteland. This makes the attack for the Glistener Elf pretty hard. I guess they could have like land into oh, okay, well Pendelhaven's pretty good as well. That's a yikes. Tough. But I mean, definitely risking it with these hands, but I think it's worth the risk, especially with a library in hand. It's a great way to recover from a mulligan. This is going to be pretty hard, yeah. Tough. Infect. Oof can come out. Night of Autumn still pretty good. Prime Time probably again just a little bit too late game. Bog can most likely come out. I like the silences. I like the blast effects. I don't mind Tabernacle and Blast as just ways to slow down their hand. Endurances are interesting. Dryads are interesting because they do turn on the Molten Pinnacle. Ooze can come out. I think we can take out the field as well, seeing that we're taking out the Prime Time. Tough one though. Swords and Endings are obviously great. Libraries are fantastic. Thalias are great on the play. Carpets are also interesting. I don't want to overboard though. I mean, 8 already is pretty strong. I could see a trim. Something like this. Yeah, I like that. No green source again. A good hand otherwise, but knowing they also play Wasteland is pretty tough. Okay. No, like his hand is just mana. Alright, I guess we're keeping this and we're bottoming Knight and Yav. I'm not going to lead on the Savannah just yet either, because I don't want to get it Wastelanded. I'd rather just hold up sword around Days here. Opponent holding up Stifle, it looks like. Unless they have Blooded Agent here. Library's pretty good. One second. Just had to answer a phone call. We're back. And I think here we're just going to go for a Elvish Reclaimer. And then double sword is quite nice. There is a world where keeping that knight if I really thought they're going to have Sylvan Library was correct, but here we are. I also am not going to swords on their turn because I want to play around days as much as possible. Down to 12. Wow, they're digging for something. Very interesting. They chose to shuffle, that makes sense. But after... Yeah, wow. Okay. I assume they're really looking for a Infect creature here. Our own library is pretty insane as well. Force, pitch days. Alright. Sure. No attack either. Okay. I'm gonna get rid of the forest in case they stifle this. Oh, Blast Zone's interesting. I think Flagstones is better just for now. Another Zenith. I'm a little bit weary of crop rotation into Inkmoth, so I don't really want to tap out here. I don't mind just going for another Reclaimer. And then just passing with Reclaimer up or Swords to Plowshares if needed. And here's Crop. I am just going to try to Wasteland it now. Before they can, like, you know, in their turn, allow them to pump it and give Hexproof with something like Vines. And I'm happy just to Swords here now as well. If they have a Daze, it's kind of rough, but what can you do? They have a Force Pitch Brainstorm. Alright. Well, I guess we 6. They have 1, 2, 3, 4 Infect on the field. I assume they have a pretty easy way to find, like, Invigorates. They didn't pay with the library either, so I just assume... No? There we go. Tough. Rough. Two pretty quick losses to combo, which kind of show the weakness of green-white decks, but the mulligans weren't that great either, so definitely take what you want out of those matches. I think the sideboard is there, you just have to draw into it, and that's the case. I think Deafening Silence is pretty good against any sort of Infect deck, because in response to any pump you can remove without worrying about another spell, which is quite good. But yeah, I wouldn't say that's a surprising loss, unfortunately. But hey, maybe we can finish this on a high in the next one. We'll see you there. Hey team. Up against Eli, I believe. An interesting hand. I think against Goblins we have a better 6. This is a lot of mana where I don't really want a lot of mana. I want to have a removal spell. This is pretty good. We have turn 1 ending, and we can bottom a Thalia. But yeah, Eli, a very good Goblins player. Of course, Goblin like you won. There it is. I'm going to use the ending here, even though we have the swords. Just because we have Collector Oof for Aether Vial. Valakut. I probably want to take them off the War Chief here. Just to really keep their mana a little bit skewed. Twin Shot Sniper's pretty good. Alright. Endurance. Well, I guess it's Dryad Pass. I'd probably take the attack if they do try to attack here, but it's interesting. Yeah, I'm pretty happy to let this through. Yikes. Yeah, I don't think we have an out to the Murktide, unfortunately. That's just a little bit too tough. Goblins is going to be interesting. I like the Blast, the Tab. I don't mind the Clothis. I think the Thalias can just come out. That's probably it. Just a little bit more interaction with their creatures. And try to slow them down a little bit. Obviously, they're like hitting every land drop is a tough one, and not having a Wasteland there. But yeah, the Blast Zone probably solid here. We don't have anything like Plague Engineer or Toxic Deluge as a black deck, so having the zone should be pretty nice. I don't mind the libraries either. A lot of their creatures are kind of kill on first hit, so library's actually pretty interesting. Because they do a lot of hasty creatures as well, it's pretty tough to know how far you can dig. I like this hand. Turn 1 Reclaimer. Probably just off the Yav. Is there a world where I want to fetch and play Reclaimer? I guess then if I draw into like another fetch land, there's a world where we can just hold up double fetch and then sack a land into I actually think fetch is better, because if we draw into a fetch land, we then have 2 lands put into the bin and a 3rd with Reclaimer. File. Well, that's a pretty nice draw. Play the taps land and then attack. Cavern. Twin shot. I think I'm happy to go after their mana. As long as I have 3, I'm pretty happy. I think, yeah. Wasteland here is great because it just keeps us off 3 drops. Dryad is pretty huge here. Sure. One more land. One more land gets prime time, which is pretty nice. All right. Nice. Oh no! Actually, is it 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, I guess we trigger the Vesuva there. Oh, trigger the field. Yeah. Okay, that was a weird game. That was pretty fun, but that was a very interesting game. I don't think Eli played a Goblin. Oh no, they played the shooter. That was, yeah, pretty hilarious. No white mana for the ending is huge. Okay. I think it's just the Vesuva here, but Vesuva copy Flagstones gives us access to green mana, which is pretty interesting. I don't mind dropping the Knight. It is a Green Sun's target, so if we do really need it, we have it. Oof. This is tough. No matron, which is good. Ah! Yeah, that's gonna be a tough one. Yeah, I don't think we can come back from that. We do have the tab, but they have so many creatures that it's just a little bit tough, so. Not much we can do there, but we can finish this 2-3. So we'll see you in the 5th. Hey team. On the play, which is nice, up against Bub. And an interesting hand. I don't mind this. We get to have some early interaction with Wasteland and Prismatic, and then have Dryad to try to get into primetime range, so pretty happy. Opponent is mulliganing, which is interesting. I'm just going to lead on the wins on the Karakas. Not too sure what I want to search for just yet. Most likely a Savannah. Tundra. Okay, maybe this is Doomsday? With Polluted Delta? No. Lion Sash. Interesting. It's gonna be like a Stoneblade deck. The question is, do I care about this? I don't think so. This is fine, if that's how they want to use their mana. Sure. See what land they play here. Most likely just oh, they get Brainstorm locked. That's huge. Just gonna swords this now as well, just to get it off the field. Force it. All right, pitching a Murktide, which is relevant. All right, they shuffle. One more mana. I actually don't mind Thalia here. It allows us to play the prime time around like a force of will, potentially. Or it could also get a force. Yeah, this is fine. Pitching a True Name. It's a pretty big win for us. Stoneforge, pretty good though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Caldra. What? 2, 4, 6, 7. I think it's just field and bulk here. However, I probably care more about... I think it is just bog. I probably care more about Cauldra, but like untapped lands, swords, and Murktide is pretty tough. So I think I will bog. I don't believe the Germ has trample. They're going to try to find a swords. Or another land for Caldra. Okay. Ooh. Pretty nice. I'm going to get dried up with this as well. Just go really wide. Alright. First strike, trample, indestructible, haste. They're going to attack with it. Interesting. Yeah, I think they hold back. But I mean, we do get to just go wide, which is nice. We don't really care about it blocking one creature. Yeah. Really tough spot for them. Okay. I like the blast effects. I probably like the carpets. And I probably want a force. I don't mind Clothis either. I don't want to overboard again though. I could see like a Thalia coming out on the draw. A Wasteland. We saw True Name, so maybe Blast Zone is worth it, but I think we have the Blast for them, which is okay. Endurance is solid. Dry is a good. Ramanap's okay. Maybe I don't need the carpets. I could see swords coming down as well, but we do know that they are on Murktide. But like, trading 2 swords for 2 blasts, and then like the red elemental blast for something else is quite good. Potentially, yeah, something like this. 1 Reclaimer. Reclaimer's pretty solid though. Always tricky. Especially seeing Murktide. Usually with Stoneblade variants, they rely on creatures like True Name, so I don't really want to swords the Stoneforge Mystic. I'd rather just try to have an answer for the True Name. But with Cauldra, it makes Stoneforge a kind of must answer, which is nice to have the prismatic endings because it also hits the Germ. And they're not a deck playing Flicker Wisp, so they can't really reset the Cauldra easily, which is nice. I will assume we see back to basics, so I might bring in the extra force. I might just trim again. 1 endurance and 1 triad. Teeg also interesting if they are playing a version with like Supreme Verdict or Jace, but I think it hitting our own Prismatic Endings and Green Suns is just a little bit too troublesome. I don't mind this hand because it hits land drops and it answers Stoneforge Mystic, and then if we have green mana, it's pretty exceptional. Okay. Pretty happy to go after Tundra when we can see it. Okay. They didn't attack either? That's very interesting. Okay. It's gonna be flagstones. Sure. Sure. Caldra. Big question is, do they have the force here? Interesting. So the question is, do they have the force or do they have a land on top? Because we knew that the draw for turn was Karakas. Unless they were waiting to play the Stoneforge Mystic. I'm probably happier just to Sword Stoneforge here, paying the cost of Esper Sentinel. Now force. Okay. Rough. And we can see that maybe Wasteland was a better play because they don't have an extra land. We do have some outs in Prismatic Ending. That's probably the card that I'm digging for. But yeah, obviously, again, like a no green hand, definitely came back to bite us. Yeah, tough. Probably just running this back. Seeing the Esper Sentinels are interesting. I think because of the forces as well, I'm happy to bring in the swords. I'm going to drop down to 1 Thalia, seeing the amount of drops we have in the deck that are non-creature. Oof as well. I think we can answer other stuff. Oof hitting like Jitte potentially. I'm not too sure if there are other creatures. That sounds pretty good. Turn 2 library, which is nice. I believe we're running a Taiga. Yeah, cool. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, that game showed how much you really need to have removal for Stoneforge Mystic, so getting this library down is pretty key. Did not expect days. pretty happy just to play... It's actually an interesting one. I think Dryad, just because it turns on all our lands to be extra colors. And it is a second copy, so I don't really care if it gets counted. Unfortunately, none of these do anything against Stoneforge Mystic. Swords, sure. If another red source here would be fantastic. Nice. So it's tough because Clothis is green as well. So we can't play Clothis and Hold Up Blast. I think in that case it's just going to be Knight. Hold Up Blast. I will get the plateau out of the deck here. Get to sack the flagstones here, which is kind of cool. Probably just go for Wasteland. I could try to get the Clothis online here. I mean, what does Wasteland really achieve? Not much. Could also just be flagstones. I don't mind that. And then play Clothis as well. I don't think we have the time to hold up Blast as well. But maybe I'm rushing it there. Tough. Was Valakut the play? Did I miss out on Valakut there? I think I did. Could I have gotten Valakut? I think I could have gotten Valakut and hit the Stoneforge Mystic. I think I totally didn't. Yeah, got that incorrect. 2, 4, 6. I believe so. I don't want to blast that. I think that's fine. It is tough though because like this Brainstorm could be representing a Stoneforge Mystic for the Kaldra in hand. No attack's interesting. That's nice. They do it the Wasteland, but we get a 2/2 out of it. No, we don't. Interesting. I guess the field has to be there as well. Wonder if they hardcast the Jitte. No. Sadly, no great attacks here either. That Jitte just takes over the game. Yeah, maybe it comes back to not getting the Valakut there and coming. I'm kind of hoping they put the Jitte on the Snapcaster here so we can blast it. Yeah. Tough. Yeah, I don't think we have an out there. Have to be like 3 removal spells, but pretty tough. I think they're like being the first time playing the deck, probably getting Molten Pinnacle there for Stoneforge Mystic might change the game, but a pretty tough one to say the least. But deck overall felt pretty sweet. Obviously the results don't really mimic that, but yeah, I think some of those hands were a little bit rough that just led to kind of no games, but for the most part, the deck list felt pretty consistent. It's just tough to be a green-white deck and face some of the decks that we played and try to have some game without having the openers that just have, 2 to 3 sideboard cards and then also a plan in itself. But yeah, a pretty cool deck. I have seen it perform pretty well before, especially with players who have more than a league rep with it, but yeah, I think the general guide is that if you are a Maverick player or even a D&T player, you would have a lot of fun with this and probably some competitive results as well, which is cool. So yeah, it's probably a list that I do want to play more on the channel and see it perform. But yeah, just a tough one today. After a good start against Delver, just kind of all went downhill. But that is Magic sometimes. You can't really control it. So a huge thank you to you guys for watching. If you do like this content, definitely let me know in the comments. Subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.